on my right...
Need some order, Mr Speaker.
Order. The House will come to order. Members on my right will cease interjection. The Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you, Mr Speaker.
Order.
Mr Speaker.
The Leader of the Opposition. The Minister will cease interjection. Order. The House will come to order. Order. Both sides will come to order. We'll hear the Minister. If members on my left don't... Order. The House will come to order. The House will come to order. The Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question without notice is to the Prime Minister, and I remind the Prime Minister of his promise when he took the job of Prime Minister just on a year ago now, that of his promise, no, not the one he'd tell the truth, the one where he said he would reduce unemployment. Isn't it a fact, Prime Minister, that the only reason why the latest unemployment rate wasn't 12.2% was that 82,000 people actually gave up looking for work last month? And as this is the last question time, probably the last question time before the next election, is the Prime Minister...
Order.
Is the Prime Minister prepared to assure the people of Australia that unemployment will not be nudging 12% or will not exceed 1 million people by early next year as the school leavers come onto the job market? And isn't it a fact that things are much worse than the Prime Minister thought they were, and that he has absolutely no plan to create jobs?
The Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, I should have thought the Leader of the Opposition would have focused on the question of participation rates, because when he was advising the member for Bennelong, if we had the same participation rates today we had then, we'd have unemployment of between 7 and 8%. Right this very minute. Right this very minute. So the Leader of the Opposition wants to direct a question to me based on the very high participation rates in the economy engendered only by the high growth of employment in the 80s, where Australians believed they could go and look for work. But where, after nearly a decade of office under you, you had such low participation rates, by today's measures unemployment would be 7 to 8%. But I think the salient point, Mr Speaker, is this, that the Governor of the Reserve Bank recently had this to say, and I think this is the relevant point. Certainly he said, opponents of the monetary and fiscal policy easings have no right to be in the vanguard of those now voicing concerns about unemployment. In other words, here is the person most highly placed in the bureaucracy saying basically to the Liberal Party, all of you who have opposed the reductions in interest rates, and you did, you call them political, who have eased fiscal policy and made it stimulatory, and you did, we did, and you attacked us for it, and as in that question I read to you earlier. Opponents of monetary and fiscal easings have no right to be in the vanguard of those voicing concerns about unemployment. Your policy prescription, you attacked every policy of the government that was aimed at creating more growth in the economy and higher levels of employment. You told me in the recent press statement that our policy of fiscal stimulus was increasingly reckless. The jobs we intended to buy, you tried to deride the employment the government created as jobs we intended to buy with taxpayers' money, and nothing more, you said, than a cruel hoax. I mean, what sort of duplicity is it to have statements like this and then be up asking me about unemployment? The same unemployed people you say you'll put on off unemployment benefits after 9 months. The same unemployed persons you'll throw onto the streets without the support of the national income support system, the social security system, after 9 months. The same people you send to the voluntary agencies. The same people the Shadow Minister for Social Security refers to as riffraff. The same people you said, oh, you don't like the answer.
You won't give us an answer. That's your problem. Now sit down. Sit down.
The Prime Minister resume his seat. The Prime Minister resume his seat. The Deputy Leader of the Opposition on a point of order.
Point of order. Under the standing order relating to relevance, the Prime Minister was asked whether or not unemployment would go over 12%. He ought to answer the question instead of attacking the opposition. So stand up and answer the question.
The House will come to order. The House will come to order. The Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker.
Order!
Mr. Speaker.
The House will come to order.
In that
The Deputy
cheap
Leader of the Opposition
budget
will cease in a
reply,
check.
in that cheap, thoughtless budget reply of the Leader of the Opposition, he said to me, I remember you, he said, pointing to me, saying not long ago that when they fall off the pace, you'll reach back and pull them up. That's the unemployed. What you mean is you'll pull everyone else down to the lowest common denominator. And I'm supposed to give you a serious reply? You humbug. You humbug. You humbug.
Order!
Mr. Speaker, and then he said
Order!
in the Family Summit speech, giving people choice is the compassion that liberates, just giving is the compassion that suffocates. There you've heard from Dr. Hewson about what he thinks about Australians who are not well off. And then in the Parliament he derides us for about fiscal expansion. Mr. Speaker, let's make this clear. Let's make this clear. Dr. Hewson's now pretending he can deliver on the government's agenda of a stimulatory policy leading to higher employment. That's what he's pretending. Positive stimulus, a role for government in getting Australia out of a recession, and look at the government looking after people. Well, again, I'll repeat what I said earlier. If the Australian people believe that's what they need to deliver to them, it should be delivered by the party that believes in the policies and constructed the policy, and not in a policy which is constructed by him. Here's the Leader of the Opposition, Mr. Speaker, saying in respect of food, again, which is an example of where he's coming from in relation to this. He said, this is on December the 11th.
On a point of order, Mr.
The
Speaker.
Honourable Member for Menzies on a
Mr.
point of
Speaker,
order.
on a point of order under Standing Order 145, the question that was specifically put to the Prime Minister, the question which was put to the Prime Minister related...
Order! Members on my right will cease in eject. The member for Burke will cease in eject.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I warn the member for Burke. If the member for Burke interjects again, I'll name him. Members on my left will cease in ejecting. The member for Menzies have a point of order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Under Standing Order 145, the question which was put to the Prime Minister was a question which related to the estimates of forecasts for unemployment exceeding 12%. Since when is a series of gratuitous insults from the Prime Minister relevant to that question?
Order. The member for Menzies will resume his seat. The Prime Minister will answer the question.
Mr. Speaker, in the cast of policy adopted by the government, we've seen the government of Japan adopt a highly stimulatory fiscal package. We're now seeing the American president talking about a stimulatory fiscal package. We've seen the OECD Secretariat address member states urging them to adopt a fiscal stimulus, as this government has adopted. And for our trouble, all we ever got in Australia from the Leader of the Opposition was claims of recklessness, claims of buying jobs. In other words, he did not want to participate whatsoever in the international consensus which said at a time of low private sector investment, now is the time to lift public sector spending, and particularly to help those, cushion the effects on those who are affected by the recession and unemployment worldwide. He rejected all those philosophies. He said that fight back was right and it didn't need to be changed, that fight back was already the right stimulus. And now he's saying to the government, which has done everything to induce a recovery and higher employment, lower interest rates, 6.75% bill rates. When did you last see them? In the 1960s? A fiscal stimulus you regard as reckless. You then...
Members on my left.
You then want to say that it is the government you want to say focus on employment when you have rejected those prescriptions. Absolutely. That's why the governor said opponents of the monetary and fiscal easings have no right to be in the vanguard of those no voicing concerns about unemployment. Now, Mr. Speaker, the fact is the opposition is poll-driven. They've now found that their heartless policies are not washing with the Australian people. Andrew Robb's been on the Leader of the Opposition's back now for weeks trying to get him to change his policies. And now we see in this sort of deathbed repentance He wants to now change to a more stimulatory policy, and we're supposed to say, oh, well, that's OK, John. Well, now you've seen the light. Well, of course, we'll just step out of your way.
Order.
In fact is, Mr Speaker, this man doesn't believe his own policies. He says he's changing his policies, but he hasn't changed his mind. He told us on Sunday taxing food was still right, but he'll change it because the public don't like it. He believes that fiscal stimulus is wrong, but he'll now embrace it because he thinks he might be able to dupe the public. Well, the fact is, Mr Speaker, the public are too smart for him. As I said the other day, he discovered his heart when he discovered fear in it.
Point of order.
Mr Speaker, on a point of order, in response to a point of order from the member for Menzies, you specifically asked the Prime Minister to get back to answering the question, which was, will unemployment reach or exceed 12%? Now, 4 minutes have elapsed since you asked the Prime Minister to return to answering the question. Will you now ensure that the Prime Minister does answer the question or resume his seat and finish this fusillade of abuse and personal denigration we're so used to from him?
His seat. The Honourable Prime Minister.
The first hint from the Leader of the Opposition about his fiscal stance on employment came in Double Bay on the 13th of December last, a few days ago. He said, fight back is a medium-term policy. Fight back, he said, is a medium-term policy. It's a structural policy. In every other press statement, he said fight back is the best stimulus, a short-term prescription. No, as of Sunday the 13th, fight back's a medium-term policy. It's a structural policy. Yeah, on the beach, in the repentance on the beach.
Order.
Tell the Speaker to show some guts.
The member for Isaacs on a point of order.
Mr Speaker, understanding Order 145, the question was very specific. It referred to the level of unemployment in this country, whether it would reach 12% or not, and also got to the point of whether the Prime Minister was going to provide us with the truth about this. So far, the question, the very simple question of whether it's going to reach 12% has not been answered by the Prime Minister, and I would ask you to get him back to that question, please.
The Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, I can clear this point. At the beachside press conference in Double Bay last Sunday, we had the truth. In his socks, yes. He'll tolerate fluff on the navel, but he won't tolerate sand in the toes. He was in his socks.
Order. The House will come to order. The House will come to order. The House will come to order. The Honourable Member for Deakin on a point of order.
Mr Speaker, understanding Order 145, on the matter of relevance,
Order.
the material that the Prime Minister is dealing with at the moment has nothing whatever to do with the question. He should answer the question or you should sit him down.
The Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, the Leader of the Opposition's admitted that fight back is a medium-term structural policy. That's what he's saying. He's saying, Mr Speaker, that it doesn't have stimulatory factors about it.
Order. The House will come to order. The Leader of the Opposition on a point of order.
Yes, understanding Order 145 relevance. My question was very specific. Is the Prime Minister prepared to assure the people of Australia that unemployment will not be nudging 12% or exceed 1 million early in the new year as school leavers start looking for work? Mr Speaker, I ask you to direct the Prime Minister to return to the specific question about that assurance.
Order. The Leader of the House. Order. The House will come. The Leader of the House, but is in his seat. The House will come to order. The House will come to order. The Leader of the House on the point of order. Order.
That is about the sixth intervention from the opposition. I take the point of order on frivolity.
Order. The House will come to order.
Quite clearly, the Leader of the Opposition had a broad-ranging question on the question of unemployment. Obviously, when the Prime Minister or any relevant minister is asked to answer a question on unemployment, he's entitled to range over what conditions create and what conditions detract from employment.
Order. The House will come to order. The Leader of the Opposition and other members have raised points of order. The Prime Minister will come back to the question. Order. The House will come to order.
Mr Speaker, the only way this economy is going to grow and employment grow with it is with a stimulatory fiscal policy. Order. And Mr Speaker, what the Leader of the Opposition has revealed in the last week is he regards his policies as not being stimulatory, being medium term and being structural, and that all of his utterances about Fight Back being a stimulus have been wrong, and that basically that he has no answers to the problems of the Australian economy or prescriptions about employment.
The honourable member for Page.
Thank you, Mr Speaker.